stay to the perception that it is all one guy. It is all one perpetrator. There's no larger conspiracy. There's no accomplices. There's no one. So yeah, they for their own credibility, they just have to go their way. Yeah.
Yeah, but just think, the people who read these books, they want to hear new information. They want to hear new theories. They want to hear that it was a conspiracy. That's where the market to sell this stuff should be. So, and even these hack writers that publish out I interview them. They got 20 books out there with every little topic, a 100-page book. They're just pumping them out. And, even these hack writers, you think they would go for the juicy stuff, the sexy stuff, but they don't. They go with the official story every time.
No, I don't know why. I think they playing it safe. Maybe I don't know.
Well, there's the other element too that we've been talking about. So I was just talking to William Ramsey about it yesterday. About there's something about this blood sacrifice. There's something about these type of occult killings where they use it. That they gain some kind of ability to lie, get people to believe their lies, and get other people to lie for them. And I've seen this in the West Memphis 3 case. I've seen it in other cases I've dealt with personally. There's something to that black magic that they do. And we were talking about Matamoros, Mexico, that big human sacrifice drug cult down in Matamoros, Mexico. Did you ever look into that?
Yeah, very shortly. I also thought George W. Bush was involved at the early stage in that. Yeah.
That's what William Ramsey was telling me yesterday. He said that there's a heavy metal rock group called Ministry that sings about it. They have a whole album dedicated to that theory. Yeah. Yeah. That show's going to be playing. It'll be playing Saturday night, man. We get into some intense stuff. He does some good work, William Ramsey. But this whole business. And what about the McMartin preschool case? Did you look into that?
Yes, I did. I've read Program to Kill. Dave McGowan did some excellent research in that. But I want to say a few more things about the Dahmer case quickly. Sure. There's also indication that Dahmer was probably harvesting the organs of his victims because Arthur J. Harris from Jeffrey Dahmer's Little Secret about Adam Walsh case. I think Dahmer is a far better likely suspect than Otto Stool, of course. But he alludes to the fact that Dahmer was in the military in Germany, and he also had a mini refrigerator with a lock on it. And I really think, why do you have that, and what is the reason behind that? And all his victims in Milwaukee had their organs removed at such a surgical style, like truly perfect anatomy, that I really think there are different motives behind that. That he was actually selling those organs.
And you said that he had medical training in the military, right?
Yes. He was first becoming a military police officer and later a medic, yeah.
Okay, now that's fascinating. Now, I told the story a couple of times on my show. I had a run-in with the serial killer Richard Biegenwald, okay, who was like a marijuana dealer and gangster in Staten Island, New Jersey, biker type. He was hanging out with bikers. And I ran into him one day on Staten Island. He made a joke. He was waving around a shotgun in his mother's house, acting crazy. And then as we were leaving, he made this joke saying, "This is where we bury the bodies." Okay. And I just thought, we just thought he was crazy and making stupid joke and acting weird. Now, I've always wanted to do a show about it, and I found a New Jersey cop, state trooper, who wrote a book about him, and he interviewed Biegenwald's attorney, who's a big mafia attorney back on Staten Island. In fact, he was my attorney for a while. This guy, Lou Diamond. And Lou Diamond told the author of this book that Biegenwald told him, Biegenwald was involved in organized crime, and that's how he was able to get these attorneys to work for him for free. Like allegedly a hitman for the mafia. But Biegenwald told him, he says, all those kids on those milk cartons? He goes, I'm responsible for a lot of those kids, and we do it to harvest their organs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really think that's really big business, harvesting organs. And I really think Jeffrey Dahmer saw financial potential in that, yeah.
And that would explain, too, how these serial killers always make the joke, like how do they support themselves? And how do they afford to travel across the country to these different places? Because it's such a time-consuming activity.
Yes, that's also pretty, an unanswered question, yeah.
Which brings us to another a guy, Bundy.
a few more things about Dahmer. Noah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
There were two things. Always police say serial killers never know their victims, which is complete false. Jeffrey Dahmer knew two victims from him. He knew Eddie Smith and Tony Hughes. And Dahmer was even listed in Hughes' address book. But nevertheless, Milwaukee Police Department never questioned Dahmer about his sudden disappearance. So it's really weird. And Dahmer was murdered in 1994, and the brother of Eddie Smith was murdered in a ritual homicide in 1999.
Really?
I mean, yeah, what are the odds of that? Dahmer is dead 5 years, and after that, his brother is killed in a ritual homicide.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that one at all.
Yeah, it's all in McGowan's book. He really collected some astounding information, which only supported the fact that these serial killers have direct connections with these satanic networks. Yeah.
You know, Dave did some great work, man. He really did. And around that time too, you know, I gave him a lot of. I used to go when I was on Coast to Coast. I was on John B. Wells. I mentioned his book. Every time I mentioned Dave McGowan, I was doing a big appearance. And I really feel that there was efforts made to put a wall between me and Dave, and I don't believe it. I know for a fact that people were trying to sabotage a relationship, and others who were banding together to work. Me and Cisco Street Love and Maury Terry and all this group, and even Carl, what's his name? I forget his name. And Cisco Street Love is dead. Maury Terry is dead now, and Dave McGowan's dead in the last 4 years. When all this was just starting to get all put together. But back to Dahmer, though.
Do you know the author Peter Levenda from Sinister Forces? I
don't know him, but very strange, too, because I guess he heard me talking about him once. I have my suspicions about him, but he contacted me once saying, I heard you want to talk to me. And I says, yeah, let's talk. Come on my show. Here's my phone number, but never heard from him again.
That's weird. Yeah, I read his books, and he has also very good information, very accurate.
Well, you know, he's the guy behind the Necromancer.
Yes. But I've only, I think, read Sinister Forces because it includes serial killers. Yeah.
Right. And also, too, you know, there's a photo of him with Podesta. Okay,
don't talk to this guy.
Yeah, you know. And listen, I'm suspicious about everybody that comes in, you know. But back to Dahmer too. Now Dahmer was living down in Florida, and like you said, you believe he's a better suspect for that Adam Walsh case, right?
Absolutely.
He's living in a utility room, a meter room where they read the meters for a pizzeria place, and he's delivering pizzas and pizza sandwiches. A dead body shows up at the dumpster 10 feet from his door. Jeffrey Dahmer calls the police and reports that. And not another question about Dahmer's, connection to this murder.
Yeah, there are also unsolved murders in Germany. There were at least 5 prostitutes found murdered, stabbed to death, really, really sickly, at the military base in Baumholder, Germany, where he was stationed. And he was also a suspect in that because, of course, the authorities say, no, he's a homosexual serial killer and he didn't kill people before that, blah, blah, blah. But I've read comments on my YouTube videos that it's very likely that a young man at his age, he was, I think, only 20, 21, he was probably finding his way to becoming sexually aroused by men or women. I mean, he was very young. And also, the roommate where he was shacked with, Billy Capshaw, stated under oath that he saw Dahmer with blood-encrusted clothes and knives with blood on them. So you have very much indication that Dahmer was even killing or raping people in Germany, and that is almost supporting more the conclusion that he was responsible for the kidnapping and killing of Adam Walsh, if he was already killing people in Germany.
Now, why would you think that John Walsh wouldn't accept that conclusion?
I think because John Walsh wasn't he the host of American Most Wanted?
Yeah, that's how he became the host of American's Most Wanted. At the time his son was murdered, he was working as a public relations type of guy, an advertising business.
Yeah, I think he just had to roll the dice and play the game with the industry. I don't think he could pronounce. I believe there's a conspiracy in my son's death.
Yeah. He came to give a speech at a private investigator convention here in Nevada, Las Vegas, and I definitely watched the speech. And the guy who flew him in on his private plane was this guy, rich guy, used to own these big database companies, IRB and TLO, and these big ones. And he was involved in fixing the election for Bush in Florida during that Bush-Gore election down in Florida with all that scandal. This guy was actively involved in it. Two companies, IRB, his company, and Choice Point, created a third company to scrub the voting rolls and eliminate anybody who's potentially had a felony conviction and couldn't vote. And all those people were denied voting when they showed up to vote. And then they dissolved the company after that, and they both went their separate ways. And then Choice Point got the contract for doing the 9/11 victims' DNA database. It was like $1 billion contract. And also, too, the Finders case, too, they were involved in these database companies as well. Did you look into the Finders case?
Yeah, actually 48 hours ago I tried to find some information on the internet, but I never found a picture of those children. Have you ever saw a picture of those children?
No, pictures of the children? No, you're right. I never saw pictures of the children. I remember when the story broke on the news, the first day when it happened, and there was a story on the news. I remember that day. And it always stuck in my head. I said, this is a very bizarre story. And I kept my eye out for it and tried to go back and look it up. But why? But normally they don't show pictures of kids, though, of victim kids, right?
Okay. No.
But you want to know what? It's interesting, too. Whitley Strieber. You know who Whitley Strieber is?
No.
Okay, he's this UFO guy that claims he was abducted by aliens his whole life, and he wrote the book Contact, a very famous book. They did a movie about it. I met him in person once, too. He has very glassy eyes, and he says that he went to that school in Mexico where they were taking the school for brilliant children that they were taking these kids to in Mexico. He said he went to that school.
Do you think he's sincere?
He wrote about it in his book. I don't think he meant to go out of his way and attach himself to the other story. I don't know how sincere he is about all this stuff with the aliens and stuff. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know. But who knows?
That's an interesting statement. If he said that before it happened, like that.
Yeah, we would have to look at the timeline and see whether he said it before or after. But I know he's connected to that school. And Lavenda has talks about a connection to the Process Church and the JFK assassination. You know that, right?
No, not Process Church and Final Judgment with Kennedy. No.
Yeah.
Please,
Lavenda claims that he lived next door to this Orthodox Catholic ministry, and all the guys around the JFK assassination, like David Ferry and stuff like that, they were all bishops in this ministry. They all had this connection to this, and it was incorporated in New Orleans by the same attorney that incorporated the Process Church over there in New Orleans. That's the connection.
Interesting.
Yeah. The more you look, the more you find.
Yeah, some things are just coincidence. It's just normal, but
right.
Sometimes it's just too much.
Right. But coincidences do happen. It's a small world, man. There's no doubt about that. Now, I guess one of the strangest cases out there is Ted Bundy. Has all these connections.
Let's talk about Ted Bundy. I think Ted Bundy is responsible for, I think, a dozen murders. I think he's really, to my knowledge and opinion, he's responsible for at least a dozen homicides. But he's been attributed like 36 murders, or some detectives, Bob Keppel even said 100 people or 150 people.
Wow.
But I really think that Bundy was involved with group activity, with cult killing, I think, because some of the victims their bodies were found totally drained of blood. Like there was not one drop of blood in them. Some victims were keeping for a long period of time, like you said, for like a week. Yeah. And also, I think he was really a scapegoat. I think